Hi guys, in one of the updates roughly a month ago, couple of defensive cards were added in the game for Sal and Rook. It's been quite a while, but in the patch notes it wasn't mentioned much, so today we will look into these, relatively new cards. We will start with Sal. She's got only one new card, Bloodguard. It costs 1 action, when played, for the rest of the turn gain defense equal to the amount of bleed you apply. A pretty decent defense card if you're going bleed deck. Note that you only gain defense from the bleed after you play this, so be sure to play it first before applying any bleed to get the most out of it. It's not an ability card, so the effect only lasts a turn, and it expend on use, but you could upgrade it to remove the expend, which seems to be the better option. Any bleed you apply will be taken into account, so the additional bleed from cards like Bloodbath will be calculated as well. Now we move on to Rook, who has 6 new cards. First we look at Challenger. It's a maneuver card that costs 1 action. When played, you gain defense per enemy targeting you. Pretty good for a common tier card early on. It's like playing Hunker Down for every enemy targeting you. You can upgrade it to gain more defense, or gain additional counter, both are useful. It seems like even abilities that target you, but don't actually apply damage also count as well. Next we look at Release Valve. Another maneuver card that costs 1 action. When played, you spend all charges and gain defense per charge spend. Pretty decent as well, quite useful if you want to play empty decks, or fighting the Hessian boss on day 1. You can upgrade it to get more defense per charge, but the other option is that you could also gain temporary power from it, which is quite insane if you have ways to remove debuffs, probably a little too OP in my opinion. Anyway, moving on. Next we have Fixed, yet another maneuver card that applies a condition called, you guess it, Fixed. Every time an enemy with this condition is hit, you gain defense according to the stack, but the condition is removed at the start of the owner's turn. So pretty useful if you have multi-hit cards like Fan the Hammer, and like Bloodguard we mentioned earlier. If you want to make it your primary source of defense, it's better to upgrade it to remove the expend. Also note that you will gain defense if your allies hit the target as well. And now we look at Sentinel, this time a 2-action card, applying defense on use, and gaining charges every time you get hit. The defense itself is okay, but if you already have max charges, you will gain overcharge on hit instead. This is much more significant when you use the upgraded version, where you gain 2 charges per hit instead. So you may actually turn it into both a defense and offense card. You may check out our last video where we have used this with Enforcers. And now finally an ability card. Every time you spend charges, you gain 2 defense, and like most ability cards, you may upgrade it to cost 1 action less or make it ambush. Don't need to say much, it's pretty good. It also makes cards like Fan the Hammer even better. I would even say 2 defense is too much since it's an ability card, but we will see if they decide to nerf it. Last we look at Tempered, another ability card. Whenever you hit an enemy with Burn, you gain defense. So it's a defensive card for the Burn deck, if you manage to obtain it, but to be honest, Burn feels much minor than the other meta decks for Rook. It's not bad, but there are so much things Rook could use that's much better. And there you have it, the relatively new defensive cards. They sure will increase your odds of surviving on your journey. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time.